Hey everyone, how y'all doing? Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be discussing my fall TBR. So I have a stack of books beside me of my top priority books that I want to read this fall. Obviously I want to read more than just this stack, but I really just wanted to highlight the main ones that I really want to get to. I'm also in this video going to be announcing a readathon that I'm doing with my friend Peyton over at Peyton Reads. I'll link her channel down below for you guys. But we are hosting a very low-key, chill, relaxed readathon. It's called Fantasy Fall. It's going to be taking place from September 22nd, which is the first day of fall, all the way through November 21st. We also have a bingo board to go along with the readathon that you can follow if you want to, that has some challenges on it of different fantasy books that you can try to read. So I'm just going to put it up on the screen for you so you can see it, but I'm just going to quickly run through what's on the bingo board. So starting from the top, we have urban or a contemporary fantasy, we have read a new to you fantasy author, a young adult fantasy, a fantasy with the found family trope in it, a middle grade fantasy, a fantasy that is 400 or more pages, a standalone fantasy, a high fantasy, a fairy tale retelling, a fantasy with purple on the cover, a fantasy debut novel, a fantasy audiobook, and then there's obviously the free space, an LGBTQIA+ fantasy, read a fantasy series, read an adult fantasy, a 2021 fantasy release, a fantasy featuring enemies to lovers, reread a fantasy, a buddy read a fantasy that has a map in it, a paranormal fantasy, a fantasy featuring a slow burn romance, read a library fantasy book, and then finally read a historical fantasy. So that is the bingo board. You can choose to use it if you want to, if you want some kind of direction for what kind of fantasy books to read. I'm sure we will be posting this all over our social media so that you can go ahead and save it and use it as you would like. You can post about it on your Instagram, on your Twitter, however you choose to. It's just a really fun extra bonus. We love bingo boards. So it's just like a really relaxed, chill readathon. There are no set rules. You can use as many books for as many bingo spots as you want. You can use one book for 10 different bingo spots. That's fine with me. Yeah, so it's just super simple, super fun. I've basically just been in a huge fantasy mood recently, which is really odd for me. So I thought that we should seize the opportunity and have a readathon based around fantasy during the fall season. So I'm gonna be talking about some of my top priority books to read. I think all of these do check off a box of some sort in that bingo board, but like I said, there's more books that I want to read. These are just the main priority ones, so let's just get right on into it. I've been talking too much. So the first book I really want to read is Lost in the Neverwoods by Aiden Thomas. This is their sophomore novel that came out earlier this year, I believe, and I don't know fully what the plot is. I knew what it was, but I've totally forgotten. But I know that it's a Peter Pan kind of retelling. We follow Wendy. I believe she was taken or something. She comes back and her brothers are still missing, so she teams up with Peter Pan or something to find them. I could be wrong, but it seems really interesting. This just seems like the kind of fun fantasy that I am 100% in the mood for. I absolutely adored Aiden Thomas's debut novel Cemetery Boys, and I do want to reread it this fall as well, and so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I've been meaning to read it for months and just haven't got around to it yet, so this readathon is the perfect opportunity. The next book, will I actually get to it? I have no idea, but I'm putting it on here anyways because maybe putting it in here will keep me accountable. But that is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I have never read Six of Crows. I haven't read any Grisha book, haven't read any Leigh Bardugo. I purely bought this, one, because of the hype, everyone was talking about it, I wanted to read it, but also the Barnes & Noble employee kept raving about it to me and I felt pressured to buy it, and so I did. So she did her job extremely well, but I need to read it. I need to finally read it. I'm sure you guys all know what this book's about. I don't really, but I also don't really fully want to know. I just know that there's a heist. I know some of the characters' names. That's about it. The reason why I've been so hesitant to pick this book up is because it is so hyped up here on booktube, and just in the book community in general, everybody loves this book, talks about this book, and I'm just really intimidated by that. But also, I am not the biggest high fantasy reader. I used to kind of enjoy it when I was 15, but then I kind of grew out of it, and it just became too hard to focus. I really need to have all my brain energy going into it, otherwise I don't understand what's happening. I'm a contemporary reader, so things like this are very hard for me, but I'm hoping that I can read it and enjoy it and join the bandwagon because I really do want to love it. Look how gorgeous this is, black sprayed edges. I want to love this book, so I'm desperately hoping that I can actually finally read it this fall. So the next segment of this TBR video, we're gonna call my Cassie Clare catch up. I have these three main books that I want to catch up on Readathon in the Cassie Clare Shadowhunter universe. We have Ghosts of the Shadow Market. This is one of the novella collections that you need to read before reading Chain of Gold and Chain of Iron, and these are the first two books in the Last Hours trilogy, and I have not read them. I own them all. Have not read them. I believe I have two other Cassie Clare books that I have not read yet, but I'm not in a particular rush for those ones. If I get to them, great. But these are my main priorities. They are chunky books, but I love Cassie Clare, so I'm hoping that like I can read them fairly quickly because there are a lot of other books that I want to read. But I'm obsessed with Cassie Clare and with Shadowhunters. This book is damaged. When did that happen? I lost my train of thought. I love Cassie Clare. I love the Shadowhunter universe, and so I've been meaning to read these. I actually did start Ghosts of the Shadow Market. Don't remember when, but I did get 61 pages into it. I do find the novella collections a bit harder to get into, but I do end up really enjoying them. I love the Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy one, and so I'm hoping that I can read this and love it because I need to read and understand these ones, so gots to do that. I think the reason why I stopped is because there was just too many names being thrown around, and I think I was not in the headspace to pay attention to all the characters. But hopefully at some point this fall I can really fall in, that was a dumb joke, into these books. The next two books are the second and third books in a series. So we have A Heart So Fierce and Broken and A Vow So Bold and Deadly, both by Bridget Kemmerer. So like I said, these are the second and third book in the Cursebreakers trilogy. Last year I read the first book, A Curse the Dark and Lonely. Absolutely adored it. It's like a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It was just really good. The world wasn't like too complicated to understand. I really liked the characters and the romance that happened, and so I was really excited for the next books, and I finally own them both. And I just haven't gotten to them. I did start this one recently, and then I think I had to pick something else up, so I didn't get very far in. Got 18 pages in. Past Brittany, thank you for stopping off in the middle of a chapter. That's very helpful. But I desperately want to read these books. Like, I just really want to know what happens in the rest of the series, what happens to these characters. I am so invested in them all, and I just really want to know what happens. So I'm really hoping that I can get to them this fall because they just, oh, they're so good, and I just want to know how the series all wraps up. Here's to hoping that I can actually read these. Why are all fantasy books so long? Like, I understand why, because you have to like build up and set up a whole world. I just don't have the time or the energy to read all of these. So this might be setting myself up for failure, but whatever. The last book I'm going to talk about today is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I've been meaning to read this book since it came out. My friend Kirsten is absolutely obsessed with this. She actually bought me this book. I have her note in here so that I would finally read it. And again, I did start this one as well. We love that for me. I got up to page 50 in this one. I might start it over even though I feel like I remember what happened, but I think I want to start it over anyway just so I can get like the full effect of it. But yeah, she bought this for me so that I would read it, and then I haven't actually committed to it because I just haven't been in the mood for it. Like, when I picked it up, like, I wanted to read it, but then as I was reading I wasn't in the mood, and I really want to appreciate and love this story, so I like put it down. So I'm really hoping that I can get into the mood for it this fall. I feel like I will be, fingers crossed, because I really want to read it and I really want to love it because it just seems like so much fun. I don't know how to describe it. I'm really bad at describing books, but it's about a girl. There's a magical library with grimoires. There's a hate to love romance, I think. Ooh, I think maybe one of the grimoires like escape or something. I don't know, but I'm excited to go on this adventure. I want to love Nathaniel Thorne as much as Kirsten does. My friend Alyssa also recently read it and really loved it, so I want to join them and I want to be able to talk about it with them. So I need to freaking read it so that I can discuss it with them. So this is probably one of the ones that's like top of my priority list. Like, I feel like it's Cassie Clare, Cursebreaker books, this one, and then like Six of Crows and Lost in the Neverwoods. Probably Lost in the Neverwoods and then Six of Crows. Six of Crows is definitely my like lowest priority, probably because I do not have the next book. Like, I don't own Crooked Kingdom, and so reading it would probably mean trying to get my hands on a copy of Crooked Kingdom. So yes, anyways, those are all of the books that I wanted to talk about today. Like I said, there's lots more books that I desperately want to read this fall, but I just wanted to talk about the main ones that I'm really excited about. There's a ton of books that I want to reread this fall that I'm really excited about, but these were the main ones. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a huge thumbs up. Comment down below and let me know if you will be participating in the Fantasy Fall Readathon with us. Like I said, it's super low-key, super relaxed, absolutely no pressure within this readathon. We both don't want the pressure ourselves, so we're just taking it really lightly. So do let me know down below if you will be joining, kind of what books you want to read. Also make sure to check out Peyton's video, which I'll be linking in the description. Subscribe if you have not yet already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!